Dear evaluator, welcome to short e-learning on how to avoid bias in the recruitment and selection processes. First of all, we'll look at the basics, what bias means and how it affects different aspects of human functioning. But first, what is bias? Bias refers to the inclination or preference for or against a person, group, or thing, often based on personal opinions, beliefs, or experiences. It can manifest in various forms, such as stereotypes or discrimination. Bias can be conscious or unconscious, and it can be influenced by a variety of factors, such as culture, upbringing, and of course, personal experiences. Biases can strongly affect our thoughts, behaviors, and decision making, and they can have a significant impact on our interactions with others and our perceptions of the world around us. Unconscious bias is a completely normal phenomenon, but it can also lead to negative situations or have undesirable consequences for the individual. Our brains like to use small cognitive shortcuts to navigate efficiently through the complex reality we live in, filling in the blanks based on our past experiences. Such shortcuts make it much easier for us to sort information and other processes, which is why we often rely on them. But we need to be aware that they are completely out of our control. They also reflect patterns we have acquired through our upbringing or through society and culture we live in. As a result, these patterns can be discriminatory or stereotyped. That can lead us to react in a completely wrong and unprofessional ways, which is particularly undesirable in the workplace. Biases can have a significant impact on our lives, shaping our perceptions, beliefs, and actions in various ways. In some cases, such mental shortcuts created by our brains can be an advantage, allowing us to make decisions more quickly, but they can often be quite limiting. Let's see some examples. First, perceptions. Biases can influence the way we perceive people, events, and situations, leading us to make judgments and assumptions that are not based on reality. Second of all, biases can also shape our beliefs, leading us to hold opinions that are not based on accurate information. For example, biases can lead people to believe that certain groups of people are more or less capable than others, even if the evidence does not support this. Biases can also influence our behavior, causing us to act in ways that are discriminatory or unfair. For example, biases can lead people to treat others differently based on their race, gender, religion, or other characteristics. And last but not least, the decision making. Biases can affect the decisions we make, causing us to make choices that are not based on rational or objective criteria. For example, biases can lead hiring managers to select candidates based on their race or gender rather than their qualifications. Overall, biases can have a significant impact on our lives, shaping our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. At the same time, there's something that we are often not even aware of. This kind of biased thinking is particularly unwelcome in recruitment and selection processes, as it can result in the wrong decisions for the whole company. It can lead to a company culture that is not inclusive and where employees feel as if they are not being treated fairly. And this can happen faster than you might think. Biases can be detrimental to the recruitment and selection processes for many reasons. First of all, biases can lead to unfairness in the hiring process. causing candidates to be evaluated based on factors that are irrelevant to their qualifications or job performance, such as their race, gender, age, or social class. Biases can also lead to inaccurate assessments of candidates' abilities and qualifications, resulting in the selection of candidates who may not be the best fit for the job. Biases can result in discrimination against certain groups of people, which can expose organizations to legal risks and damage their reputation. And last but not least, biases can limit the diversity of the workforce, as they may cause employers to overlook qualified candidates from the underrepresented groups. Let me just tell you about a study that was conducted at Yale University and that found that participants in a selection processes for management positions were more likely to choose a man's CV and offer him a higher salary, even though the female candidate had an identical CV. The study unknowingly involved 127 male and female scientists in different disciplines who were asked to evaluate the CV of a male or female candidate for the position of a head of laboratory. This is particularly worrying, as such problems have arisen in the CV assessment, before the invitation to the job interview itself, where of course many other biased decisions can be made. There have been several other studies on the effect of bias on the selection processes, of course, and here are few examples. One study, for example, found that when recruiters were provided with information about a candidate's race, they were more likely to rate the candidate lower in terms of job-related skills and qualifications. Researchers also found that CVs with so-called white-sounding names were more likely to receive callbacks for job interviews than those with so-called black-sounding names, even when the CVs were otherwise identical. Another study found that recruiters who were instructed to ignore information about candidates' race and gender were more likely to hire a diverse group of candidates. There are several types of bias that can affect our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. Next, we will look through some of examples of each type of bias. The confirmation bias occurs when we form an initial opinion about a candidate and then look for and focus on information that supports our assumptions during the interview or on the candidate's CV. As a result, we might ask irrelevant questions during the interview to confirm our beliefs and overlook potential warning signs that the candidate is not a good fit for our company. For example, if you're talking to the candidate who has impressed you the most with their CV, you may ask questions during the interview that will lead you to the answers you want. This is one of the reasons why structured interviews are a better choice, as they prevent the recruiter from deviating from the direction of the interview. At the same time, they also allow us to compare the candidates more easily and fairly after the interviews. Now, are you ready to see the roleplay that shows us this situation?
Dear Mr. Smith, welcome to today's interview. We normally conduct structured interviews with candidates, but you have impressed me so much with your CV that I would like to talk to you a little bit more in depth about your successes.
Heuristic bias means making decisions based on our feelings at the moment. The problem here is, of course, that these decisions often have nothing to do with whether a person is a suitable candidate for the job in a company. Imagine that you have a fight with a friend just before a job interview, which puts you in a bad mood and may also reflect how you treated the candidate. Similarly, having a bad day can make you feel bad about a particular candidate, even though they might be more than suitable for the job. Let's see the role play that shows us this situation.
I'm having a really bad day today. Everything is going wrong for me. I slept really badly and then I had a fight with my husband this morning. Now I have to deal with all these interviews. I'm really not in the mood for it today.
The halo effect is another assessment bias, where halo refers to the sanity glow we see in the person we idolize. This effect causes us to subconsciously transfer a positive judgment or experience from one area to all the others, based on a character or a physical trait. For example, we allow other important details to be overlooked because of the candidate's positive trait. We may notice that one of the candidates attended a prestigious university, and we are so impressed by this that we overlook or do not consider it important that the same candidate has changed jobs 6 times in the last 3 years. If we really want to find the right people and ensure that they stay with our company in the long term, we need to take a holistic view when considering candidates and not allow ourselves to be completely blinded by particular positive characteristics when making our decision.
Tony, I'm really very impressed by this candidate. Did you even notice that he graduated from Harvard? I really hope and believe that he will prove himself because he already seems to me to be a great fit because of his elite education. Oh, really? No, I'm sure that's not a problem, and he's changed so many jobs because he just likes new challenges. I think this interview will just confirm he's really the right fit for us. Tony, trust my instinct.
The horn effect is the opposite of the halo effect. The name comes from the devil's horns that we put on a person. The one bad thing we notice about a person is mapped onto the all other areas, and we don't see any other positive qualities or achievements. For example, we only notice that the person did not complete their studies, which earns them a big black mark from us, and after reading their CV, we might not even invite them for an interview. Unfortunately, because of this bias, we completely ignore the fact that the person has already moved up the ranks at his last employer within a year, which clearly shows that he has skills that could be useful for our company. Let's see the next role play that shows us this particular situation.
Hello, Susan. Yeah, I'm really not impressed by this candidate. Did you even notice that he did not graduate? That really disturbed me. No. I'm convinced that this is a significant problem and that even his track record will not contribute to his success here if he does not have a degree. That is the really important thing for me. Susan, please support me.
If you're not hiring a person to do modeling or similar work, his or her appearance plays no role in his or her abilities to work. However, you may give preference to most attractive candidates, candidates of a certain skin color, candidates without tattoos, and so on, because of bias. This is why face-to-face interviews can often be a double-edged sword. We can learn all about candidates' achievements and experience from their CV, whereas in person we can be attracted or repelled by their appearance. Again, the use of a structured interview can help, allowing us to make more objective decisions based on work experience. Let's see the next roleplay.
Hello, Tony. Yeah. I'm calling to tell you that I have interviewed this candidate. Remember the one who was really great on the basis of his CV? Well, you won't believe. Now in the interview, I saw that he was very tattooed. That really does not seem appropriate to me. It seems to me that this is a big obstacle for this job. I'm really not sure if he's still so suitable.
One of the main types of bias is gender bias, which occurs when our beliefs lead us to prefer a person of a certain gender. Gender, of course, does not determine who will make a good manager or employee, as many studies support. Nevertheless, our brains are quick to unconsciously create biases that influence our decision making. As a result, we may associate a particular skill with only one gender and think of traditionally female or male occupations. For example, we may prefer a male candidate for management position, even though business results from successful companies around the world show that balanced management teams are more successful. Let's see the next roleplay.
I don't know. I really don't. How should I approach this situation? This candidate seems really appropriate, but I'm not sure she's suitable for management position. What do I know? I still believe in the traditional division of male and female roles. Besides, a woman might get pregnant and then be absent for a long time. I really can't let that happen.
We now understand what bias is, and we have also looked through different types of biases. But now we came to an important question. How can we avoid it? I know, avoiding biases can be challenging, but here are some strategies that can help you. First, always be aware of your biases. The first step in avoiding them is to become aware of them. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings and try to identify any biases that may be influencing your perceptions or decisions. When making decisions, use objective criteria that are relevant to the situation at hand. For example, when evaluating job candidates, focus only on their skills, qualifications, and job-related experience. Nothing more. To avoid biases, it is really important to seek out diverse perspectives and opinions. This can help you see a situation from different angles and avoid making assumptions based on your own experiences or beliefs. When making decisions, always challenge your assumptions and ask yourself if there is any evidence to support them. This can help you to avoid jumping to conclusions and making decisions based on incomplete information. Don't forget, always take your time. Rushing to make decisions can increase the likelihood of biases. Take the time to gather information, to evaluate options, and consider different perspectives before making a final decision. Ask for feedback from others to help you identify and address any biases you may have. This can help you become more aware of your own biases and make more objective final decisions. Overall, avoiding biases requires self-awareness, openness to different perspectives, and willingness to challenge assumptions and seek out objective information. You got this. Good luck! Now it's time to internalize what we have heard and also to consolidate what we already know. Do you still remember what bias is? Which of the three options is the correct one? A. An unreasoned and unfair distortion of judgment against a person or thing. B. An unreasoned and unfair distortion of judgment in favor of or against people or a thing. Or C. An unreasoned and unfair distortion of judgment in favor of a person or a thing. What do you think? That's right, the correct answer is B. Bias is an unreasoned and unfair distortion of judgment in favor of or against a person or a thing. Now it's time to think about the types of bias we have discussed today. Do you still remember them? Let me help you. Confirmation bias, heuristic bias, halo effect, horn effect, bias based on appearance, and gender bias, of course. Now please take a piece of paper and for each of the biases, write down honestly whether this bias is present in your life and write down a specific example. Congratulations! You have an overview of your biggest challenges. Now take a minute to draw up an action plan to reduce the chance of bias in the selection processes. Write down what will you do differently to ensure a fair selection process.
I am well aware that my thinking, my emotional responses, behavior, perceptions, beliefs, and decision making are influenced by biases. I'm ready to put an end to it. That's why I have drawn up my action plan to help me on my way to avoiding bias in selection processes. Here's what I wrote. I will start reflecting regularly on my opinion of the candidates. I will stop making judgments about a candidate's abilities based on their gender, age, appearance, and other criteria that are not relevant to the job. I will continue to consult others and ask for feedback before making decisions. I can do it, and so can you.
We have reached the end of the e-learning, where you have learned what biases are, how they can affect our lives, our thinking, and our decision-making, and of course, being aware of biases and try to minimize their impact on the selection process. Good luck!